Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namani Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvisheshai Shunyavadi Paschata Desha Tarini. Jayo Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. So Hare Krishna to all Matajis and Prabhujis. So welcome you all to the Sadachar course from ISKCON Mangalore. Yeah. So this course, right, is basically to know the Vaishnava etiquettes, right? So the Vaishnava behaviors, yeah. And then this is actually an add-on course. Okay, so basically in your level 1 you might have gone through all the Bhagavad Gita chapters, right? And then here in this course, right, so these are we'll be dealing with the etiquettes basically, right? So how does a Vaishnava behave, yeah? And then so what are, say, whenever a Vaishnava visits a temple, so what should be his etiquettes, right? And then so how does he offer prasad? How did he honor prasad? Yeah, why do we wear a tilak, right? How to wear a tilak, right? So all these things, right? So which are related to the Vaishnava culture, right? So which are actually required, right? Initially, um, when we visit to the temple, right? So there is always an ambiguity, right? So what people are doing and we don't understand at times. So and then say what kind of pranams people do, right? And then whom to pay obeisances, yeah. So all those things, right? So what mantras we should use, what should be our dressing, yeah. All these play a very important role. Okay, so this is very important, yeah. So I did request you all to switch on your cameras, but okay, it will be more better, yeah. Dinesh Prabhu, thank you. Okay, so this is the uh, basic outline of the course. Okay, and then here we don't have any exams unlike your level 1, right? So level 1 we had all exams and all, right? You'd have to appear to the quiz and then tests and all, right? So for this course we don't have any exam. Okay, and then so here we'll be dealing with all these aspects. Okay, and so post this, right? So apart from these, so we'll be following the IDC course content, so which is from Mayapur. Okay, so the student handbook which is published from Mayapur. So this course is from Mayapur itself. So we are actually using that course content itself. Yeah, that PDF either you can download it or we'll be sharing it. So it's all from there only. Okay, so there, actually there are 6 sections. So we'll cover those, and apart from that, we'll cover the avatars, okay, the Dasa avatars, and then couple of Bhagavatam shlokas, the prayers, right? So the important prayers we'll cover. So altogether, this is what the course content would be. Okay. Um, no, so there is nothing as such, Prabhu. So because attendance link I'll have to check in. So if it is there, then I'll get it from Nandita Mataji. Okay, because Nandita Mataji had a clash. So I'll see through if they are taking attendance, but possibly there is no attendance also, I think so. But I'll have to check it. I'll get back to you on this, Prabhu. Because at the end, right, I think I'll be getting an participation certificate. Okay. So we'll get started. Yeah. So actually, our course is about Vaishnava culture. Okay. So Sadachar, right? So any thoughts? What could be Vaishnava Sadachar, right? What does it mean, or what do we understand with it? Anyone? So there are no right or wrong answers. You can speak, and then because we are only a group of 11, right? So we should not feel shy, right? So we should be interactive, and then you can speak up whatever comes to your mind. Yeah. And then if there are any corrections, we'll make. Yeah. So any thoughts? What does Sadachar mean?
Behaving
Associating with devotees.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, association is one part, and someone said behavior, right? So basically, yeah, mostly it is on the behaviors. So what do we do, right? So when we go into a temple, so how do we behave when we actually see a senior devotee? How do we behave when we see a sannyasi? What should be our stuff? Yeah. And then say whenever we are honoring prasadam, how do we honor it? Yeah. And so all these things is nothing but culture, right? So this is our culture. Say, and you can even say that it's an etiquette, right? So basically, whenever we join any school or college or any workforce also, right? So there are etiquettes, right? So whenever we go to an office, right? So there is an etiquette we follow in, right? So we dress up formally or whatever it is, right? We follow the dress codes, we follow the rules until we are there, right? So until we are there in the office, it's not that we can go with our night dress to the office, right? So there are few things which we follow in, right? And then similarly, when we go to a school or a college, we follow. So we wear their uniform, say whatever it is, right? Say the curriculum and all, right? So we follow. And then if we don't follow, then possibly we'll be out of it, right? So that's everywhere there is etiquette. Okay, so even so being when we are in this, right? When we are actually going through this Krishna consciousness also, right? We should know what is the Vaishnava etiquette, which is very important. Yeah. And then all these etiquettes we got it from Srila Prabhupada. Okay. So Srila Prabhupada only gave us all these Vaishnava etiquettes to us. Yeah? So this is his movement. Yeah. And then he only has given us this Vaishnava etiquettes. Yeah. Anyone knows about Srila Prabhupada? Anyone wants to actually tell something about Srila Prabhupada, because this is all this course and all is his givings only. So anything, any one liner, two liners, if you want to, if you know, you can tell. So I've not muted anyone. Yeah? All are unmuted. Anything which comes to your mind, or you can put in chat also. So if you feel that you don't want to speak, then that's, if you can put it on chat also. Whatever you know about Srila Prabhupada.
We should be grateful to him for guiding us.
Yeah. And do we know anything about Srila Prabhupada? Say his life and all those things. Anyone knows? Anyone would like to?
He's the founder of ISKCON,
Yes, Prabhu.
and he has went to the USA. There only he has established one temple. From there
Yes.
only the school started from USA.
Yeah.
1977, I think so.
Yeah. Anything else? Anyone knows? Anyone wants to add
He
anything?
constructed 108 temples.
Yes.
He was from Kolkata, and he was a
Very nice.
businessman, and he then moved into Krishna conscious, where he spread about Krishna conscious abroad, and then India.
Yeah.
His guru was Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Prabhupada.
Yeah, very nice. Very nice, Mataji.
Yeah, the Prabhupada is a 32nd Acharya, so came from the lineage of Brahma Sampradaya. So he is the 32nd and last Acharya.
Yeah. So Prabhu has touched on the parampara system, right? In the parampara system, he is the 32nd Acharya, yeah? And then we are his grand disciples, yeah. So, as all of you have given insights, right? So, Prabhupada at the age of 69, right, in 1965, he traveled to New York on a cargo ship, right? The cargo ship name was Jaluduta, right? And then he had only 40 rupees in hand. And then he went to the West for preaching Krishna consciousness, so owing to his guru's order. So his guru wanted him to preach to the Westerners, Krishna consciousness. So he just obeyed. He just wanted to please his guru and then obey his instructions. Right? He went there. So he was sick during his travel to the US. He had 2 heart attacks, survived. Yeah. And then initially there was no one. So he was all alone. And then he used to, so when he went, he only had the Bhagavad, couple of Bhagavatam sets. Yeah. So no place to stay. So he did manage all those difficulties. And then say initially he used to cook. Yeah. And then he used to clean and there are no devotees as such. So he created the revolution. Yeah. And then we know, right? Say by the time he left the world, he actually circled 14 times the globe um, to lecture. Yeah. And then he built 108 temples. So this is something which is just a brief introduction about him. Yeah. So if you want, then there is Leela Amrita, and there is a book which you can read through. Yeah. So that has all his biography, all the details. There is one book which is very nice, interesting. Yeah. So if you start, then you can't stop reading. So there we can know his struggle and then how he struggled in India for 30, 40 years without any results. And then he had to go to Western world and then how he actually created the magic. Yeah. He had all say blessings, mercy, and then he had some power from Krishna, so wherein he could actually turn around all this. Yeah. So this is actually the Vaishnava culture. So Vaishnava culture is nothing but the behavior, yeah, so which we spoke in. Okay. So this is the first lesson. Yeah? So we'll be covering the principles and applications of Vaishnava culture. So today is our intro, right? So with that, so we'll actually cover these things. Okay. And so what is Vaishnava culture, right? So as we spoke, right? That is the behavior of Vaishnava. So Vaishnava is nothing but the devotees, right? So yeah. So the culture of the devotees, right? So that's the thing. And then Srila Prabhupada actually in his lecture, he has mentioned the word culture, Vedic culture, spiritual culture and all about culture, right? These many times. Yeah? So culture makes a difference. Yeah. And then, so what is culture? Okay. So this is basically this is from a Latin word. Yes. It comes from colere. Yeah. So this is nothing but the meaning says that to tend the earth and grow and to cultivate and nurture. So that is what the culture is all about. So the whole aspect of this course is to cultivate and nurture about the Vaishnava culture. Yeah. So that whenever we go, right? So this is something you can say that should be the basic thing. Yeah. So, and then later on, right? So when we go to our Diksha or when we progress in our spiritual journey, right? And then whenever we take up the advanced stages, right? So like the shelter and diksha, right? Then you'll be knowing the intricacies, but being in this moment, right? You should be knowing at least the basics. Yeah. And so this is the basic definition of culture, right? Culture is nothing but the way of life, especially the general customs and beliefs of a particular group of people. So as I said, right, so this is the customs and belief and the way we behave, right? And then it is very important, right, to actually behave in the temple, or say if at all, say we are preaching, or say we are doing some big book distribution, if we are doing some service, right, so we should be actually following the Vaishnava cult. Yeah, so it shouldn't be that we follow something else. So, and Prabhupada, right? So, and the other bit is Prabhupada was actually born in a Vaishnava family. Okay. So my birth was in a Vaishnava family. My father was a great Vaishnava. So from birth, I was in Vaishnava culture only. So what Prabhupada says is that, so this is from Srila Prabhupada lecture, February 13, 1974, Vrindavan. So Prabhupada is saying that he was born to a Vaishnava family, right? His father was Gaur Mohan De, and then mother Rajni De. Yeah. And so his father was actually a great Vaishnava. And then in those days, right? So every day he used to bring 4 to 5 sadhus for lunch. Okay. And then see, he used to actually follow all these puja routines and all, right? And in the early morning, right, he used to ring all bells and all. So wherein Prabhupada and all used to get up, and then they knew that their father is actually doing the arti. Yeah. And then he actually introduced Prabhupada at the small age with the Ratha cart. Yeah. So he did build a small Ratha cart, and then Prabhupada used to celebrate Radha Yatra in a playful way in his younger days. Yeah. So, and then he gave him the deities also. So Prabhupada was introduced to all these things, right? The spirituality and all these things at the early age. So that's what it's been mentioned here. So it is good that it's fortunate that if somebody is born in an Vaishnava family, right? So the advancement becomes easy. Okay? And now from here on, I need your support, yeah, to read the slides. Yeah. So anyone can volunteer and then start reading. Yeah. So each one of you can pick one slide and read it. Yeah. So anyone who wants to read this?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Go ahead, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
To cultivate aspects of Vaishnava way of life as presented in teachings of Srila Prabhupada throughout ISKCON communities.
So this is the aim. Okay. This is the aim of this course. Yeah. So wherein we want to present his teachings, and then because in the early days, right, so when Prabhupada went to the Western world, right, so they were not aware of all these things, right? So even they were not aware of how to wear a dhoti, how to put a how to wear a tilak, right, and then how to eat. So in the sense, eat in the sense the prasadam and all, how do we honor it? So they had their own ways of living, right? So with spoon, fork, and other stuff, so they knew, and so even the dressing and everything, right? So it was very new to them, right? At least in India, we see, right? At least from our childhood, we have seen people like say the way. At least when we go to the temples, we have that atmosphere wherein we see that the kind of dressing people wear, right? And then the atmosphere. So somewhere or the other, we are actually connected spiritually, right? But for Westerners, it was they never saw that, and then Prabhupada actually taught them everything, even how to wear a dhoti, right? And then now I feel that say he did those things at that time, right? And then slowly now we have become Westerners, so we are actually moving fastly to become Westerners. So, but and then we are adopting all those things, right? So like so we are actually getting far away from spiritual stuff. And then now if you ask, right, to the younger generation, they even don't know how to wear a dhoti. So Prabhupada, I believe he anticipated all these things would be there. So he went to the West and then he has taught all those things there. And then say again, we are actually using them, right? So yeah, so this is something which we should be learning here. And then yeah, he did create all those manuals and all, right? So yeah, it is for our this generation and the next generation, right? So you might have seen that there is a lot of change these days. And even so in India also, people have actually forgotten the way of dressing and all, right? So unless there is a restriction in the temple, that's the reason we have got a restriction these days in temples, right? Saying that you should have a formal kurta or an sari and all those things, because we have forgotten what to wear to the temple also, right? So we'll discuss those things in a detail the coming classes. Yeah? And then basically, so all these things, right? What does our course actually comprise of, right? So the formal association, as one of the Mataji said, culture is, Vaishnava culture is associating also. And then how do we associate with seniors, juniors, with peers? Yeah. And then what are the principles? Formal venues, cleanliness. Yeah. This is very important. So cleanliness internally and externally. So can anyone say how do we cleanse ourselves internally?
By chanting
By
Prabhuji.
chanting Prabhuji.
Yes, so that's the only way we can actually cleanse ourselves. Yeah, it's initial days, it's very hard, but yes, if we continue, right? So you'll start getting that taste. So some way or the other, so you'll after chanting, right? So you'll get that some taste, some peace. Okay, and then if we continue that, then you'll be addicted. So you like to chant, and then so that taste comes in. Okay, so the more we chant, right, our say anarthas and everything will get cleansed, and then so we can actually understand things much better, right? So either spiritually, right? So whatever somebody is trying to preach, or even uh, whenever you visit the temple also, right? So the state of mind and everything becomes very subtle. So that's very important. How many of you agree that say chanting actually gives some taste, say which you'd like to enjoy more times? Do we agree with that? Uh,
Yes, Prabhuji.
yeah, how many of them agree? So maybe you can actually put your digital hands up in the group. Just wanted to see. So okay, yeah, okay. So few of us feel, right, that chanting gives a taste. Yeah. So it gives. So if you try it in the morning, right, so it will be very wonderful. So early morning, so we should take a bath and then sit for chanting. Yeah. So whatever altar you have, right, or a picture of Krishna, you can start with them and then start chanting. So maybe one round, two rounds. So and then you'll feel the bliss. But so later part of the day also you can do it, but best thing is if you can finish it off early in the morning, when say the day is going to start, right? So if you do it before you get engaged into all the other materialistic life, right? So sometime should be actually apportioned in the morning for these activities, and then we can continue with our day-to-day schedule, right? So yeah, and then prasad seva. So as I said, we'll discuss these things also, and Vaishnava dress. And then cleanliness was very important, right? As in Srila Prabhupada, So even externally and internally, right? He was very particular about, let's say, cleanliness. So where even whenever he used to cook, right? So the kitchen, everything was spotless at the time itself. So if you actually listen to the devotees, right? So who actually share the experiences with Srila Prabhupada. So the kitchen or even the room where he used to stay, right? It was spotless. So he was actually very particular in cleanliness. And then you can see it today also, right? So all these ISKCON temples, you see, so cleanliness is on par. So there is no compromise with this, either internally or externally. Yeah? So that's something we'll cover. Yeah. And then this is basically a Mayapur institute. So this they given. If you do it from Mayapur, then we get the certificate. But yeah, from Mangalore, you'll get the participation certificate. Okay. So can someone read this, please?
Hare
You
Krishna
volunteer.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Prabhupada and classroom norms. Just like if you enter into any educational institutions, if you don't surrender yourself to the rules and regulations of the institution, how can you get advantage of the knowledge imparted by the institution? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So there is a little bit continuation also, Prabhu. So if you can continue the next slide also.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Good,
Everywhere
Prabhu.
where you want to receive something, you have to be controlled or you have to be surrendered to the rules and regulations. If you do not follow the rules and regulations of this class, it is not possible to receive the knowledge.
Okay. So this is Bhagavad Gita 7.2, San Francisco, September 11, 1968. So these are all the speeches, right? So these are all these commentation, right, is being taken out from his speeches. Okay, so where Srila Prabhupada has actually delivered these speeches, and then so we are actually making notes out of them only. Okay, so this we discussed, right? If any in any educational institute, right? So it could be our engineering or wherever it is, right? So we'll have to actually follow the norm, right? So we'll have to take the exams, we'll have to do the practicals, right? We'll have to go for the project work, we'll have to sit for the viva, right? So everything happens. If we don't follow, right? If we don't follow the norms, what will happen? So either we'll be restricted or so we'll be thrown out of the university and will not receive a degree, right? So that's the same thing. So when we are in the spiritual thing also, right? So whenever we want to advance, we'll have to follow the norms, yeah? And then it will help us to advance in spirituality, right? So we'll have to follow the rules and regulations, yeah? The sadhanas and everything. Slowly, we'll have to cultivate one after the other, right? So because it's not something we can do it overnight, yeah? So doing things overnight is not possible. Slowly things will change. Okay, so as Mataji said, right, so while driving in Bangalore, right, she is more interested in in actually chanting. So that's the way you'll actually get interest, right? Same thing happens, right? So for all of us, right? So all of us are like that one. So initially, so might be, so we were actually listening to the radio or some other music when we were traveling. But possibly now, if you ask me, right, I do the same thing. But for me, right, it's always some or the other lecture which goes on. So while traveling, I listen to one of the lectures. So that way, I actually utilize that time. Yeah. So that's how you like it. So that slowly things will come up. But but for this class, right? So these classroom norms are something which was being discussed. Okay, and then so this is actually the essence of Vaishnava culture. Yeah. So this is basically from one of the Padma Puran. So this quote is actually from Padma Puran. Okay, so this comes in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Okay, so this has been discussed. So the essence of this quote is that so we should always think of Krishna. Okay, so it goes in as Samartavya Satatam Vishnamartavyo na jatuchit Sarvavidhi Nisheda Sur Eteyor Eva Kinkara. So the whole story, the crux of this particular shloka is that so we should always follow or we should always remember the Lord. So whatever we do in, right? So that is the first thing. Okay. And rest all things follow through. Okay. So even I think there is an explanation also for this. Yeah. So yeah. So can someone read this, please?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I'll read. Krishna should always be remembered and never forgotten at any time. All the rules and prohibitions mentioned in the Shastras are the servants of these two principles.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
So and the other aspect is Prabhuji and Mataji, whenever we read, right, if there is anything here also, right, we can cover that. Okay, so the text or the context from where it is being taken up, right? So it's from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela 22.113 from Padma Puran. Okay, so the footer also, if it is there, then it's good to read it. Okay,
Yes, Prabhuji.
so Krishna should always be remembered and never forgotten at any time. Okay, so this is the basic essence, yeah. And then all the rules, right? So shastric rules are there which we'll have to follow, right? But first thing is chanting, right, and remembrance of the Lord. Okay, then all this sadhana and all. So we'll continue. So for us, right, chanting would be the precedence. Okay, and then post that all our day-to-day activities which we do it, right? So chanting should be there. It would be our first priority because that is something which we have been told, right? So, so our spiritual master has told us, right, to chant, right? The chanting should be there, and then once we do that, right? So possibly if we are doing 16 rounds, right? So we complete that and then continue with other services, right? So that's something which we should not neglect. Yeah, chanting should be our first priority, and then with that, right, if there are any additional things which we are doing, so we'll continue, but chanting would be the topmost one. That is what being addressed here. Yeah, yeah, Mataji, you can continue this also.
The conclusion is that one must act in such a way that he will always remember Krishna, and one must refrain from doing things that make him forget Krishna. These two principles form the basic background of Krishna consciousness. Perfect. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 22.113.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So the conclusion is that one must act in such a way that he always remembers Krishna and refrains doing things that make him forget. So we should be all, whatever we do, right? So all our things should be for Krishna. Okay. So anything which we do in, right? So this comes in actually nectar of instruction. Okay. So wherein, so there are six activities. So which actually Rupa Goswami has given us, right? So in there, so there are six items which are actually pratikula, or say which actually add on to our the spirituality, right? And then there are six things which actually should not be used. Okay, so we should actually refrain. Okay, so basically so that this is nectar of instruction. second text, yeah. So it says Atyara prayasascha prajalpuniyam agraha janasangascha lolyam cha sadbhir bhaktir vinashyati. So if you do these things, right, so then your bhakti will get destroyed. Yeah. So basically, atihara is nothing but overeating or say, collecting too much, right, and over endeavoring, right, say, and prajalpa, say, unnecessary talks, yeah, and then so not following the rules and regulations, yeah, too much attachment is agra, and then all those things, yeah. So we should actually refrain from all those things. So this is a basic course, I'll not touch here. So these things should be covered more detail when you do your further studies. But yes, so whatever enhances us, right, towards Krishna, we should follow them and then ignore things which are dragging us from taking us towards the spirituality. Okay, so that's the basic essence. Yeah. So this is somebody else can read this, please.
Prabhupadam Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. You can go ahead, Dinesh Prabhuji.
Just like these European and American students, sometimes they cannot adopt to the principles of Sadachara as it is recommended, but that doesn't matter because they have devoted. They have sacrificed their life for Krishna. They are sadhu. They should be given the respect of a sadhu because they have no other business than Krishna.
Okay. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Srila Prabhupada lecture, Srimad Bhagavatam 7.730 to 31, September 12, 1971, Mombasa. Okay. So here, right, the initially say when that's what I was telling, right? So when Krishna consciousness was introduced to the Europeans and Americans, right? So the Western world didn't knew, right? So what is actually spirituality, or so they might be knowing in, but how Krishna consciousness is, and then say what are the norms, right? How to behave on Krishna consciousness, or what to do, right? Say what to wear, all those things, right? So initially they didn't knew, right? And then there were few of the people who are actually saying that okay, so they don't know this sadachar, that sadachar, but the thing is they actually have sacrificed their life. So so many of the devotees, right, at the time of Prabhupada, right, so Prabhupada had converted so many, or he had initiated so many people into Krishna consciousness. So, and then everyone had actually at that time there were we like us, right, so being at home and all those things, right? It was not that option was not there at that time. So at that being at home and then say continuing Krishna consciousness and then taking diksha and all, right? At that time it was full time devotees. So whoever wanted to join Krishna consciousness, they were full time devotees, right? So seeing them, right? So there are a lot of people, so a lot of followers who actually were following Srila Prabhupada, right? But initial days they didn't knew. So for that, right, a few of the people say used to actually tell saying that okay, they don't know this, they don't know that. But yeah, so the ideal thing is whosoever was commenting out, right? So they themselves were not following any rules and regulations, but they were actually pinpointing. That's the reason Srila Prabhupada gave them back saying that they have given their life, right? So and the other side, right, so whosoever were commenting, they don't even chant, or they are far away from spirituality. And then here there are devotees who have given their life to take Krishna consciousness. So that's the thing, right? So these things will come slowly, yeah. So like initially, right, so they didn't have an habit of washing their hands, right? So after eating, right? So because they used to have with spoons and all, right? So they used to eat, and then they'll actually wipe it on a cloth or in paper, right? So tissues. So few of the Indian community felt that okay, so they don't know how to wash hand and all those things, but that's all incorrect, right? So Prabhupada actually was telling them, right? So they have given their life, and for these all small things, right? So you need not pass comments and judge them, right? And then slowly we have adopted to that culture, and they are far away from us, and then they follow every small process which we don't know. Yeah. So that's how things flip on. And then, so this is the picture of Bhishma Dev. So all of you might be knowing this particular instance, right? So this is called Deshakala Vibhagavat with. Okay, so it depends where you are, right? And then, so following the rules and regulations is one thing, and it's not that every time you can follow, right? It depends upon the place and circumstances. Yeah. So if you look in this condition, right? So Bhishma Pitama is on the bed of arrows, right? And then if we say that now Lord Krishna came him, right? During his passing away. So that was the will of that was something which Bhishma Pitama wanted, right? So he had that boon of leaving his body whenever he likes, right? So during Uttarayan, when Lord Krishna came in, right, to visit him, or he came along with the Pandavas. So Bhishma Dev's position was on the bed of arrows, right? So he cannot get up and then pay obeisances, right? So looking at those circumstances, right? So what did he do? So did he ignore that? No, he gave everything from, he paid all obeisances in the mind. He did invite all of the Rishi Munis, okay? So through his mind, right? He actually invited everyone. So like you see Narad Muni, Vyasadev, everyone. So all the Devi Devatas, he invited them onto the battlefield, and then he actually recited Vishnu Sahasranam, and then he gave up his body, right? So that in that way, right, we cannot actually put rules every time in every place. Okay. So that's one of the example. So anyone would like to read this?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji, good.
Bhishma Deva received and welcomed all the great and powerful rishis who were assembled there, for he knew perfectly all the religious principles according to time and place. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So we have some continuation. You can continue. So that's what, right? He knew. So he was a Mahajan, right? He knew all the principles. He knew everything, right? But so looking at his condition, right? He did it. He did adjust what is required, right? So he can do it, right? So we shouldn't adjust for everything. Yeah. So go ahead, Mataji. You can continue with this.
Expert religionists know perfectly well how to adjust religious principles in terms of time and place. All the great acharyas or religious preachers or reformers of the world executed their mission by adjustment of religious principles in terms of time and place.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So this is what the place and circumstances are, right? So the experts can do that. So not us. Okay. So we should actually follow them. Okay. Yeah. Mataji, you want to continue and finish this? Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji. There are different climates and situations in different parts of the world. And if one has to discharge his duties to preach the message of the Lord, he must be expert in adjusting things in terms of the time and place. Purport Srimad Bhagavatam 1.9.9.
So this is Hare Krishna Mataji. So here you can see, right? So because in now ISKCON is actually in different parts of the world, right? So Prabhupada had made some adjustments, right? So in few of the places where things are not possible, say like in India, few things, if they are possible, they might not be possible in every look and corner of the world, right? So he might have tweaked little bit, okay? So that only a person at his stature can do in, okay? So and then we can follow that, okay? So that is what the process is all about, okay? So one of the best example is that the number of rounds, right? Chanting. So earlier, so Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, right? He, whenever, say, in his regime, right? So it was that every devotee should chant 64 rounds, okay? So that was his criteria. And then looking at the current situation, right? So Srila Prabhupada made it to 16. Yeah? So those things they can make in, okay? So 16 is bare minimum, right? So now we can't say that, okay, 16 also we can't do it. So that's something he did it for his devotees, okay? So whosoever has taken initiation, right? So for them it's must. So from shelter onwards, people actually try with 16. They do 16 rounds, not try. Sorry, and then it continues. So, and once we are initiated, 16 rounds have to be completed bare minimum in a day. So that's something he tweaked in, right? So in that way, yeah, I just wanted to cite an example. Anyone else can actually continue this?
One has to consider the particular time, country, and conveniences. What is convenient in India may not be convenient in the Western countries. Those who are not actually in the line of acharyas or who personally have no knowledge of how to act in the role of acharya unnecessarily criticize the activities of ISKCON movement in countries outside of India.
Okay. This is what we were discussing, right? So this is what happens. Yeah. So something has to be tweaked as per the necessity, depending upon the. But it doesn't mean that the core principles are changed, right? So Prabhupada never compromised about the four regulative principles. Yeah? By the time he went to the West, right, those four regulative principles were very hard, right? So all those four regulative principles, it was impossible for anyone to actually uh, share to adopt. But Prabhupada never compromised on them. So it's not that we compromise something, right? So the core things were never compromised. Yeah, Prabhupada never compromised. And then there are so many people who came and told that this four regulative principle to Americans and Europeans is impossible, and then you should be lenient. So Prabhupada was never lenient on those things. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we can continue with the other stuff. Anyone else want to read this, please? Shiv Prabhu, you want to continue?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Go ahead, Prabhu. Or Venugopal Prabhu, you want to go ahead?
Yes. The fact is that such critics cannot do anything personally to spread the Krishna consciousness. If someone does go and preach, taking all risks and allowing all consideration for time and place, it might be that there are changes in the manner of worship, but that is not at all faulty according to Sastra.
Okay, so that is what, right? So there will be people who will be barking, right? So and then people will not be able to digest when things are moving in a faster way, right? And then when people are picking up things, so people will not like it. Then so we should move on with that. Yeah, and then this is the consequence of niyamagraha. So now we'll be actually This is the last topic, okay? Because we started late, else I would have finished this in 1 hour. But yeah, this is the consequence of Niyamagra. I'll just give some insights in it. So Niyam Agraha, there are 2 words, okay? One is Agraha and then one is Agraha, okay? One is with one is Agraha, okay? So Agraha is nothing but eagerness to accept, okay? And Agraha means failure to accept. So Agraha means following all the rules and regulations, okay? Eagerness, so to have everything and anything, all the possible rules and regulations, yeah? And Agraha is failure to accept, reverse of it, okay? So if we add these 2 words to Niyama, right, it becomes Niyamagraha, okay? So we shouldn't be in both the extremes, okay? So every time you cannot follow the stringent rules and regulations, okay? Or you shouldn't be lenient also. You should be midway. And then you should actually follow the rules and regulations which are given by our spiritual master, right? So he has actually laid this path, right? So that we actually move on, right? And then say we are not stuck with the rules and regulations. As an example of Bhishma, right? So the ideal thing would be that he should pay obeisances. Can he do that in that situation? No, right? So in that way, right, there will be few situations where we cannot follow all the rules and regulations. Yeah? Too much of rules and regulations we cannot follow. And then that doesn't mean that we don't follow the rules at all. It should be somewhere in between. Yeah. So this is agraha, eagerness to accept, and then agraha is failure to accept. So, like for example, right, we take Ekadashis, right? On Ekadashis, so it has been said that we should fast, okay? And then if somebody is a diabetic patient, and then he has to take his own medicines, right? So if he's not taking, then he'll be falling sick, right? So as per Niyama Agraha, his thing is that he should actually follow Ekadashi strictly and he should not eat any solid food, right? So if he does that and if he doesn't take the medicines, the next day on Dwadasi, what will happen? She'll be falling sick, right? So in there, so we need not follow that rule, right? So we can have, but you don't take rice and dal, right? So don't refrain from taking grains. So use other ways of having the prasadam, right? So have the prasadam and then take your tablets and then continue chanting or whatever service you're doing, right? So that's one example. Actually, if this could have been an physical class, right, we could have actually broken the whole participants into teams, and then we could have this kit, so wherein one could have actually come up with all the rules and regulations and the other one not following the rules, right? And then we could have actually do a small kit type of thing, 2-3 minutes. But yeah, so now virtually it'll take a lot of time, and then yeah, so we'll skip this. But yeah, this is one of the examples. You can also think of those things. Yeah. So these are 2 directions, right? So neither you should be liberal nor you should be conservative. It should be midway. Yeah. So someone can read this, please.
Prabhupadam Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
I have to propagate this mission, Krishna consciousness. So I am not so much attached to the rules and regulations, but I am attached to the preaching work. So therefore, this Niyamagraha is also against Krishna consciousness and Niyamagraha. And when you are in a quiet, convenient position, if you do not observe the rules and regulations. That is also against Krishna consciousness. Lecture Bhagavad Gita 4, 1922, August 8, 1966, New York.
Yeah. So this is so this one become here. Sorry. Okay, we'll adjust this. So here, right? So that's what Srila Prabhupada says, right? So whatever we do, right, our preaching work should not get impacted. Yeah. And so you cannot follow too much rules, and then neither you cannot give up. So the example which we took of our Ekadashi, right? So that fits in. So we'll have other things also coming in. Yeah. So anyone would like to pick this, please? Venugopal Prabhu or Kajal Mataji, you want to?
It is a characteristics of a devotee to observe and protect the Vaishnava etiquette. Maintenance of the Vaishnava etiquette is the ornaments of a devotee. If one transgresses the laws of etiquette, people make fun of him, and thus he is vanquished in both this world and next. By observing the etiquette, you have satisfied my mind.
Okay. So Hare Krishna Prabhu. This is from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he is instructing Sanatan Goswami. Okay. So this is from Chaitanya Charitamrita Leela. So Antya Leela 4.129. I've been 132. So this is Sanatan Goswami, to whom Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is actually instructing. Okay. So this instance is in Jagannath Puri. Okay. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was actually in his hut, and then he wanted, he actually passed a message saying that he wants to meet with Sanatan Goswami. So Sanatan Goswami, so you might be knowing that he was a minister, right? So in the Bengal province. So he gave up that ministership, and then he had to run away, and then so that's a story, so which you'll be knowing in. But to cut short the story, right? So he had to travel through all the forest and all, right? So he to reach Puri. So when he went through all those forest and all the places, right? So he had to drink contaminated water and all. So with that, he got some blisters on his body. So to reach Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right, there were two parts. One is through the temple. Okay. So he could enter, because in Puri, if you have gone, there are 4 gates. Okay. He could have entered one gate, and then he could have come out from the other gate, and then he could have reached Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But because he was having those blisters, and there was some worms and pus coming out, so he didn't took that road. Rather, in the noon, right? So he actually took a roundabout along the beach where the sand is red hot, right? So at noon time, if we actually put our feet on the sand, right, you know what happens, right? So in that, he had actually, he ran through those beach areas wherein it was hot sand, and then he reached to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked him, so why did you take this long route? He mentioned that, as I have these all blisters, right? And then if I pass by to the temple, and if any of the pandas actually in some way or the other, if I touch them, or if I pass by and then these worms or pus falls on them, then they'll be contaminated, and that will become a big aparadha. So to reframe that, I have taken a longer route. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that, yeah, so you have, so that's what he says, that you have taken the topmost ornament of a devotee. Vaishnava etiquette is a topmost ornament. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased with Sanatan Goswami. Yeah. So that is the way the etiquettes are. Yeah. Good. I think Kajal Mataji, you can read this, please. No? Because she wanted to read last time, I saw. Mataji, you're reading? Oh, she dropped off, is it? Okay.
Therefore, we are endeavoring to create some ideal men, Krishna conscious men, their character, their behavior, their ideal aim of life. So, those who have taken to Krishna consciousness seriously, they should be ideal men. The society will be benefited at least by seeing their behavior. Srila Prabhupada Lectures, Srimad Bhagavatam 6.2.4, September 8, 1975, Vrindavan.
Yeah.
Hare
So this
Krishna.
is Hare Krishna Mataji. So this is important. Yeah. So therefore, we are endeavoring to create some ideal men. So at that time, right? So Srila Prabhupada actually had created so many disciples, right? So looking at their etiquettes and behavior, right? So we can take Krishna consciousness seriously. So this actually reminds us from one of the Bhagavad Gita shlokas. Anyone remembers that? It's in 3rd chapter. One more clue. Anyone knows? Yadyad acharat. Okay. Anyone knows that shloka? Okay. Anyhow, so this is from 3.21. Yeah. So this is basically reminds us of Yadyad acharati sreshtas tatta devata rojana sayat pramanam kurute lokastad anuvartate. So this is whatever the great leaders do, right? They set the standards and all other common men follow, right? That's the reason. So when we are putting tilak and then so when we are actually representing ISKCON, so we should do it with utmost care. Yeah? That was the instruction which Lord Krishna gave into Arjuna when he was not in a mood to fight, right? He said that being a Kshatriya, if you are not fighting, then the next generation would follow you. Yeah. So this is the last slide. Anyone wants to read?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Can I read, sir?
Yes, go ahead, Bob.
This Krishna consciousness movement through music, philosophy, spiritual, culture, and personal behavior, culminating in ideal character of the devotees. All these heavenly contributions combined together will certainly bring about a major change in the life of Western people. Srila Prabhupada ji, lecture at Shivananda, San Francisco, 14 September 1916. Hare Krishna.
So this is what the conclusion is, right? So the Krishna conscious movement, right? So along with the spirituality, right? The philosophy, culture, personal behavior, and the characters of the devotees, right? All these will actually have a major change in the life of Western people. Yeah. So at that time it was Western people, and then now it is for all of us. Okay. So this is what the importance of Vaishnava culture is. So with this, we are done for today. I know that we have overrun some because we started at 7:20. Yeah. So we'll actually close this session for today. If there are any questions, right, we'll pick it up in the next class. So whatever questions you have, first we'll cover those from these decks. Okay. From this first session, whatever questions you have, we'll first deal it in the next session, first 5 minutes, and then we'll take up the second session. Is it fine, Prabhuji and Mataji?
That's okay, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So we'll wind up for today, and next class, let's start at sharp 7. Yeah. So let's not delay it, because today it was the first class, right? Even that's also a part of our Sadachar to be on time. Yeah. So let's do that. Okay. So we'll
Yes,
wind up the class. Thank you all for giving the association today.
Krishna
you.
Prabhuji, Hari Bol.
Vancha kalpatarobhyascha kripa sindhuvya cha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnebhyo namo namo. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Guruji. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Ji.